Marmouche. It's a long way out here. That's a stunner! Omar Marmouche from downtown to the...
Oh, what an outstanding goal! And hit by McAllister! Oh, it's a beauty! And
Hello, welcome back to the JFPL Podcast. Another game week in the books, and with the first double almost complete, the Premier League and our mini leagues are as tight as ever. Whether you've triple captain Gabriel, forgot the deadline, we've got you covered today. I'm one of your hosts, Finley Osborne.
And I'm Luke Williams.
And with us now with yet again another FPL sensation, FPL Lee, who's been part of the community for years, co-host of FPL Family, content creator, and a man who somehow manages to stay optimistic even after a red arrow. Lee, great to have you on. How are you doing today?
Yeah, morning guys, morning. Yeah, trying to stay optimistic after red arrows. You know what, this season it's been hard, isn't it? It's a hard season. I feel like I have a few green arrows in a row, and then my reds tend to be quite big reds. Like if I have a red, it tends to be quite a bad one. So trying to stay optimistic with those big bad reds is challenging. But yeah, other than that, I'm having a good game week this week. So you've had a good week to get me on.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Also, it's a double game week, so you always want to have at least a good scoring double game week when you have got the double game week. Did you play any chips in the end?
I did. I went triple captain Gabriel. I know many people did. So I did consider it on Rice for a little while, but
Nice.
I thought Gabriel was probably the one to go for because, listen, I think away at Brentford, I think we all thought, those of us that did triple captain Gabriel going into that, thought, well, Brentford good at home, got the threat of Thiago and Utara and a few others, but so that's why this Wolves game coming up, and we're recording this Wednesday morning, aren't we? So Wednesday evening is going to be Wolves versus Arsenal at Molineux. Kind of important for FPL that Arsenal keep the clean sheet and maybe get some defensive contributions from Gabriel. That'd be nice.
Yeah, so he's on 9 points at the moment. Wolves away is the next game, and that is later today, as we are recording in the morning. 8 o'clock kickoff at Molineux. Luke, you didn't triple captain, I didn't triple captain, and both. Well, my reasoning behind not triple captaining was because of the clean sheet and him going to Brentford away, and because of Brentford's form, I just didn't see him getting a clean sheet, and then I thought, I don't see the point of playing the triple captain. I mean, there's lots of different reasons. Luke ended up captaining Joao Pedro, so he's been doing well. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, I've been consistently captaining him in the past 3 game weeks, and he's paid off every time. And considering he had a relatively easy fixture of Leeds, I just figured it's gonna pay off, and it did, quite obviously.
Yeah, in the last 3 game weeks, he's grabbed 20 in game week 24, 16 in game week 25, and then 20. So these are triple captains in game week 26. Right then, so we normally ask. I don't know if you heard this when we asked this question to Dan, but it's a general question. What got you into FPL, Lee?
What got me into FPL? I think, guys, it was my kind of natural competitiveness. I think so. I've been playing FPL for years, by the way, right? Probably, and I don't know if I should even say it on the pod. Probably before you guys were born. So I've been playing FPL for like 15, 16, 17 years, something like that. So back in the days when you had to, send off the changes you want to make in, like, on a postcard or like in the mail, right? So, or at the very least, you had to send a letter to somebody to make a change in your FPL. It's like as mad as that sounds. That's back when sort of fantasy football was in like newspapers and stuff like that. And I think when I was at school, in secondary school, I went to a boys' secondary school. So like everyone was into the Premier League, right? And it was like proper early-ish years of the Premier League. A lot of my mates were Manchester United fans and they still are Manchester United fans, even though they're based, most of my mates, in London and the South East. Because that was the era of Manchester. That was the Alex Ferguson era, right? Everyone supported Manchester United. And I kind of rebelled against that a little bit. I thought, well, I don't want to support Man United. And for a very, very small period of time, and largely this was because of my family, I was a Spurs fan. So for a very, very small period of time, that's right. Well, yeah, and with the new manager coming in, maybe we'll talk about that later on how we feel Spurs are going
Yeah.
to do between now and the end of the season. And you'll know the other half of FPL family, Sam, is a big Spurs fan, as are our
Yeah.
kids. So I was a Spurs fan for a while, and then I thought, no, actually, I'm gonna go against the whole Manchester United thing, and I'm going to pick a rival. I'm going to pick who was good in the '80s. I'll pick Liverpool. And then from then on, we didn't win a trophy for years when I started first supporting Liverpool. But nevertheless, at school, the rivalries were there. And that just leaked into FPL, right? So, the fact that Liverpool couldn't win a trophy and Man United were winning everything, I was like, right, I've got to beat my mates then at FPL. I need some bragging rights on something, don't I? So I got properly into FPL, got really quite good at it. This was before we had all the data and all the stats that we have today. And I would regularly beat my Manchester United mates on FPL. So that was my thing, right? That's how I got into FPL and why I got into it so deep was because I got to have bragging rights over my mates, right? A lot of FPL managers get into it that way. So yeah, it's come from my natural competitiveness, guys.
Yeah, so you're a Liverpool fan now, and it sounds like you've been a Liverpool fan for a while. So talk me through why did you? I know you sort of said it. You were a Spurs fan, but then you've gone to Liverpool. Obviously, Luke's a Spurs fan. Why did you go to somewhere completely different?
Well, to be honest, when I say I was a Spurs fan, it wasn't. I was about sort of. I don't know, I was very young, probably like 6 or 7 years old. Right, if you go far enough back, you'll find a picture of me in like a Spurs kit. I've tried not to get that out into the open wide world, right? But there's me in a Spurs kit when I was very, very young. All my family support Spurs. Most of Sam's family support Spurs as well. So by rights, really, I should have been a Spurs fan. And we live just north of London, in Hertfordshire. So if we're not going to support Watford or who else, or
Luton?
Arsenal, I suppose, or Luton, yeah, I suppose, yeah,
Up the
we're
town.
reasonably close to Luton. So if we're not going to support one of those, really, I should be by rights and by geography a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to. That was just my thing, guys. When I was younger, I just wanted to rebel against it. I thought I don't want to be a Manchester United fan. All my mates are Man U fan. I don't want to be Spurs. All my family are Spurs. Who else
Be
can I
different.
be? Be different. Yeah, be
Yeah.
different. And at the time, there was a couple of Liverpool players that just got me into Liverpool. I love, and he's still my boyhood hero, Robbie Fowler. Right, a bit before your time, guys, but Robbie Fowler was my sort of childhood hero. Yeah, hat trick after hat trick. One of the best finishers the Premier League's ever seen. Players like Stan Collymore when he played for Liverpool, even going back as far as sort of Ian Rush. A massive Liverpool goal scorer from the past. So it was those sorts of players, those goal scorers, that got me into supporting Liverpool. Plus the history of the '70s and '80s and the success that Liverpool had there. That's really what got me into supporting Liverpool.
So you've had a lot of time to play FPL. So who would you say that your worst FPL moment is? Like funniest transfer, or it's a bit of a general question, but
Worst FPL moment. I tell you what, it's a good week to ask that question because in a week where I've triple captained a defender, which
Yeah.
is so rare, right? We very, very rarely
yeah.
triple captain, very rarely captain defenders, do we? Let's be honest. Never mind triple captain. I remember a few years ago. I have to get this right. This was many, many seasons ago. There was a double game week for Brighton, if I remember rightly, and there was a decent looking couple of fixtures for them, and in particular for Shane Duffy, a Brighton defender from a few years back. And I think we both, also a lot of FPL managers backed the clean sheet in both games. He had scored, I think, a couple of goals, earlier that season, or at least had some goal involvement. Obviously, this was before defensive contributions, all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
So I remember, in actual fact, so yeah, triple captain Shane Duffy didn't go well at all. That's definitely an FPL low point or a worst point. And then a few seasons, was it after that or before that? I don't know, but certainly in that sort of time, another triple captaincy on a Watford player. I remember triple captain Emmanuel Dennis when he had a double game week, and it flopped big time. It flopped big time. So yeah, actually, to answer your question, a lot of my FPL worst moments have come from triple captaincy, which is kind of apt given that I'm on here on a week where I've triple captained Gabrielle. So hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt me again in
Yeah,
midweek.
history doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We need something, Gabrielle, from Wolves. We need something.
Yeah, you like to hope so, especially going to the bottom of the league. I mean, last time Arsenal played Wolves, it was 2-1 to Arsenal, I believe, at the Emirates. So didn't get a clean sheet there, but you're hoping for different this time. I'm going to ask you a question now. So when did you first get into FPL? So you got into FPL a while ago. When did you go, okay, I like the game so much I want to do content about it?
Oh, so when did we start doing FPL Family? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So this, yeah, different sort of question. So, yeah, getting into FPL was definitely a childhood thing, but getting doing the FPL Family stuff was. So, what are we in? I guess we're in our ninth season now. So next season will be a decade of doing
Yeah.
content for FPL. So we've been doing it for quite some time, Sam and I. And we've always both played the game, right? She and I have played FPL for a long, long time. Me a bit longer than her, but we've both been into it for a while. And of course, she's a big Spurs fan. I'm a big Liverpool fan. So we both, and you've seen her on different bits of content. She knows her stuff, right? She knows her stuff. So
Yeah.
I remember, and we were quite passive competitive, right? So we'd always, before we did FPL Family, we were always quite competitive on FPL. It was like, oh, who are you captain? Oh, I'm not telling you who I'm captain. Oh, I'm not telling you my transfers because I want to beat you this week, right? So there's this kind of like competition in the background. Um, and one evening, and genuinely, guys, it was as straightforward as this. One evening, we're sitting on our sofa, and I said, we should record this conversation. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, we should do a video. Like you and I, we both into our football, we both into our FPL. Let's just record a video and put it on YouTube and see what happens. And she was like, no, no, just don't do that. Ridiculous. No, I don't put myself on video. I've not done my makeup and all that sort of stuff. I was like, listen, let's just do a video and just see what happens. So I remember, guys, honestly, I got my iPhone out at the time, which was like an iPhone, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever that is, iPhone 5 or 6 probably, right? Pretty budget camera, right? So definitely not the, millions of megapixels that we have nowadays in our iPhones, right? So pretty budget camera, propped it up against the salt and pepper shaker on our dining room table, and just started getting into what I thought then was YouTube mode, right? I got into, oh, hi, welcome, Willie and Sam, and we FPL family, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I recorded the video. I put some very basic, sort of low level graphics around it, and I thought, listen, no one's going to watch that. No one's going to watch that. But left it overnight. Woke up the next morning, and about 400 people had viewed it. I said to Sam, "This is something in this. It's something. This is kind of interesting, isn't it?" Why? And I sort of called my family to make sure that my brother hadn't watched it 400 times. And he said, "No, I didn't even know you were doing it." So I thought, "Okay, great. You go and subscribe." Um, and yeah, I thought there's something in this. And I looked at a couple of I only got like a couple of comments on the first video, but there was a couple of comments about, oh, husband and wife, that's unusual. Oh, there was, and also, guys, without putting too fine a point on it, right? We are in a very male dominated environment in FPL, aren't we, right? There wasn't many female content creators out there, if any. Certainly, in my view, none that knew as much as Sam did about FPL and could engage with the audience in the way that she did. So she very much was the interesting part of that video. I mean, as you could at the time, you could find loads of guys doing FPL content, but a female doing it, that's kind of different, and a husband and wife doing it, and they're a bit competitive against each other. That's kind of interesting. So that's how we got into it. Literally just putting a video up, and then we did like another video and another video and another video. I just thought, let's just keep the content going and see how it goes. And yes, just grown from there into something that we never thought that it would, right? But so that's how we got started. We literally just put a video on YouTube and saw how it went.
I suppose that's the way you should go. I mean, started 2017, and since then the rest has been history. 4 million views, 28,000 subscribers. And I asked Dan this as well. It helps having those followers, but in the end, it's just you creating FPL content, isn't it?
Well, I think the thing we've always said, Sam and I, is that as long as we're enjoying it, as long as it's fun, and as long as it's just me and her on a Sunday evening, just chatting to each other and a few people about FPL. As long as we're enjoying it, that's good enough for us, right? That's good enough for us. And there's loads of FPL content creators that have got way more subs and way more views than we have. Dan's one of them, right? He's got he's got loads of subscribers, and we've got sort of 26, 27.
Still decent.
Well, it's good, and I think largely we've got a very loyal viewership, right? So the guys that turn up on a Sunday night to watch us are there week in, week out. It's the same kind of names, right? So what do I do? One of the things I've thought in the last couple of years is how do I appeal to a broader audience and start to grow our subscribers? Well, I think a lot of that requires, more content, more regular content, probably shorter form content as well, probably more shorts. probably more kind of 15 to 18 minute videos, 3 or 4, 5, 6 times a week in the way that Dan does, the way that FPL Harry does, the way that Andy does on Let's Talk FPL. Um, that's not really us, right? What fits for Sam and I is that we get together on a Sunday night, we've just watched all the football, and we talk for an hour and a half about FPL. And that suits us. That's what we enjoy doing, that's what we like doing. So what we do probably doesn't feed the YouTube algorithm in the way that the algorithm would probably like. That would mean we'd maybe get more viewers and more subscribers. But I don't know if we'd enjoy it as much if we were doing the kind of short form content, the 18-minute videos, right? What we really enjoy is sitting down together, just talking to our audience on a Sunday night. So that's what we do. Could that change in the future? It might, but for now, our philosophy is always what do we like doing, or what do we enjoy? And well, as long as we enjoy it, I think our content will come across as good and watchable because of the fact that we enjoy it. So that's what we've always stuck to that principle.
So when you're making your FPL choices, do you feel like you rely more on like stats or intuition and just guessing and seeing what happens?
Oh yeah, good question. Good question. A bit of both, probably. A bit of both. I think in more recent times I've become a bit more data driven. That about a lot of 5 or 6 years ill in football, right? You used to just watch the games and pick your picks based on feeling and what you were seeing and the results, right? And maybe you'd be a bit more fixtures oriented because you could look over the next 4 or 5 weeks and see what the fixtures look like for a particular FPL pick, and you'd pick them based on that largely. But nowadays, guys, the data in football. I mean, I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely fascinating. Even with the addition of defensive contributions this year, which I think has been a positive for the game, right? I think it's opened up a pool of players, centre backs and defensive central midfielders that we wouldn't have picked in previous seasons. Now are part of the pool of players that we can pick in FPL. So yeah, data in the game is such a big deal now. It's such a big deal. And I think unless you are doing a mixture of both and a bit of a blend of data and eye test, then I wouldn't say you're not doing it wrong, because there are some FPL managers that don't like the XG and they don't like the data at all. There's some that go fully in on that. So to answer your question, probably a bit of both, but I would say in recent times, I've started to use data quite a bit more in terms of when I make my decisions week to week.
Yeah, and I guess that will help on your actual FPL team. So I've been doing a bit of research looking at your team. You've been playing for such a long time, and I know you said it. But this year, currently sit 309,000th. How do you think your season's going this year? And what is your plans for the rest of the season? Because obviously the chips have doubled, because you got double this year. You still got a few chips you have to play. What are your plans for the rest of the season?
Yeah, about 309k at the moment. But I think if you go back a few weeks, I was sort of teetering on the sort of 800, sort of a million mark. So the last few weeks have actually been quite good to me, Finley. They've been pretty good.
Yeah, 4 green
Um,
arrows.
yeah, so I'm on a little bit of a roll at the minute. But like I said to you at the beginning of the podcast, right, what I've got to avoid is that big red. I've got to kind of hedge against those big reds. So 4 greens is good, but I've really got to keep it up. This season, I think, and I sort of touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the pod. This season is so different to what we've had in previous seasons, right? And people, you can point to defensive contributions. You can point to what you've rightly said there in terms of, we get two sets of chips, one for the first half of the season, and now we get reset and we get another set of chips for the second half of the season. So there are different rules and different ways to play the game this season, no doubt about it. But I also look at just you should watch the football, right? The Premier League has fundamentally changed this season, right? We are seeing more set piece threat. We are seeing more chances created from throw-ins, for example, right? We're seeing I think a more aggressive Premier League
Yeah.
than we have in the past. So I don't know, I think when you mix in the fact that the Premier League has changed fundamentally as a league, as a game, and then you throw in the fact that FPL has thrown us, not that's thrown us curveballs, that's the wrong thing to say. FPL has changed some of the rules around how we play the game. You can see why there are a lot of content creators, with ranks around, a million and a half, because it's just a fundamentally different game this
Yeah.
season. And I've been one of those. I've been in the million and a half for a while, and it's only just recently I've started to kind of move up into the hundreds of thousands. And even then, guys, based on my rank history, as you've seen, 305 would that's not where I usually end, right? Last few seasons I've been sort of 60-ish K, sort of top 50K, something like that. So that's where I usually end up. So I've got some work to do, frankly, if I'm going to get from 300K up into sort of 50, 60K. It's definitely achievable, and I've got some chips available between now and the end of the season. Plus, of course, we've got the blanks and the doubles coming up over the sort of medium term horizon, which I think, as an engaged FPL manager, I think that's where you can make a difference to your season. So, yeah, plenty of time to go, plenty of football to play. But this season has been hard. It's been hard. Have you guys found it hard this season versus when you've played in previous seasons?
Yeah, it's definitely been different. How about you, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really noticed much difference. I have noticed I am further down the leaderboards than I usually am. But I don't feel like my experience has been much different. I just think I've been having bad luck.
Yeah, FPL's a
Where
game
are you
of
ranked at the moment, Luke?
luck's
Where are
game.
you at?
I tell you that.
I'm around a millionth.
Yeah, millionth, million fight.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
1.5 million.
You got some work to do, but you can climb it back. You get a few
Yeah.
green arrows in a row, like
Oh yeah,
like Lee
definitely.
said.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Just
was
make sure you
around
don't have a bad red.
like 700, 800K earlier this season, but I have slipped quite a bit. I had quite a good run, and I had 1 week. I'm gonna try and find it where I dropped. I was like 20 points below average or something.
Yeah. So here's how I'm going to run through the scores of double game week 26. Because obviously we still got Wolves versus Arsenal to play later today as the time of recording. So Chelsea drew 2-2 with Leeds. Everton lost 2-1 at home to Bournemouth. Spurs lost 2-1 at home to Newcastle. We'll get onto that later. West Ham drew 1-1 with Manchester United. Aston Villa beat Brighton 1-0. Manchester City beat Fulham 3-0 quite comfortably to push leaders Arsenal and make sure they're looking behind their back. So the chase is on at the top. Forest drew 0-0 with Wolves, which actually resulted in the sacking of Sean Dyche, meaning it's the fourth manager of the season for Nottingham Forest. Palace threw away a 2-0 lead at home against Burnley, so that was Palace 2, Burnley 3. Sunderland lost their final to their run of home form, where they were at the time, they had the best home form, haven't lost. Liverpool went there, they won 1-0. And then obviously Brentford drew 1 with Arsenal in the game later today. So my team actually looks like 47 points with still Raya, Gabriel, Rice. So actually I ended up captaining Gabriel because I saw like my dad and lots of people had gone triple captain.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose the people. I wanted to say my triple captain, and I don't know why. I just had a feeling. But Gabriel, I didn't want to lose them, so I captained Gabriel. And then Mateus Mane brought in as well. So that
Oh, nice.
he's still waiting. That's only purely like if you're not going to bring in bottom of the league if they don't have a double game week. That's purely on double game week. He's planning. So I've planned. I think enough to have enough money to then after this game week drop him for Ekatike, and then Calvert-Lewin didn't play because of an illness, so Anderson's going to come over 5 points off the bench. Lee, you ended up on, I'm getting your team up here, you ended up on 58 points, obviously with Gabriel still to play. He got 9 points, you got Timber as well, and Declan Rice on the vice-captain, Semenyo with a nice 14-pointer, and then Haaland with 5, so Haaland's on a yellow flag at the moment, and that is a bit of panic for FPL managers. He only has, it's a knee injury, 75% chance of playing is what it says on the app. So I think he'll be alright for the next game week. And then Luke, you ended up on, what did you end
50
up?
points, but I still have Gabriel and Rice to play.
Yeah, so lots of people have. So it's kind of hard to talk about next game week when you still got this game week going on. But next game week is game week 27. And Lee, how do you feel like, because it's lots of people have triple captained, next game week's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a bit slower. Less people are going to be like looking into FPL. It's just going to be moving on from the triple captaining, and especially if Gabriel doesn't do anything against Wolves tonight. What are your plans for game week 27?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've obviously got my 3 Arsenal players there because of the double game week. So Gabriel, Timber, and Rice, as you rightly say, Finley. But Listen, they got Spurs away next week, which I'm really keen to get your thoughts on what's happening at Spurs because Igor
Oh,
Tudor's come in. He's got a pretty good record of whipping teams into shape, and that first result when he comes in as a manager, I was looking at this online. He's actually got a pretty good record. Like the
mm.
first game that he manages usually wins. And I mean, wouldn't that put a cat amongst the pigeons if Spurs were to beat Arsenal,
Yeah, that would be
at
great. That
home?
would be
Yeah,
great.
I mean, what a way to introduce yourself to the Spurs faithful is to
Yeah.
rock up to the Spurs stadium and beat the North London rivals. But listen, I don't. I'm sorry, guys. I know. Finn, are you a Spurs fan as well, or just Luke?
No, so I'm a Luton fan because I live
Oh,
local to
Luton. Okay.
Luton. So yeah,
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, Luke, I'm sorry to say, mate. I think it'll be a tall order for Spurs to beat Arsenal this week. I have to say because of the way that Arsenal are performing.
It would be a
But I've got
miracle.
those three Arsenal. Well, it would. Yeah, it would. But
it would be.
stranger things have happened. Football's a funny
Mm.
old game, right? But I got
Yeah.
those three in my team. I don't feel mega about those three, having all three of them. And also, I've got to factor in the fact that in game week 31, I know we're a few weeks away from game week 31,
Right.
Arsenal won't have a game. They
Yeah.
blank in game week 31. So at some stage, I've got to think about how I'm moving those guys around or on for other players. So I got that. And captaincy as well is an interesting one for game week 27, right? Because as you rightly say, Haaland at home to Newcastle, the way that Newcastle are playing feels like feels like an okay captaincy. But unless we hear from Pep that he's definitely recovered from
Yeah.
that knee
Mm.
injury,
Dodgy.
and even if he is fit, guys, I mean, there's a case to go against Haaland captaincy. I have for the last few weeks, and you guys have with João Pedro, Luke. So yeah, maybe João Pedro at home to Burnley is the one to go for. I mean, listen, you said about the last 3 weeks he's got 10, 8, and 8. But actually, if you go back even further than that, I think game week 22, 8 points against Brentford, and then game week 23, 12 points. So what's that? 5 games in a row where he's returned and he's got three double-digit hauls in that time. So
Yeah.
home to Burnley for João Pedro feels like a great captaincy option, doesn't it?
I've had him in my team since game week 1. Like I brought him in and I just haven't taken him out.
Yeah, him and Ekatike. So João Pedro is 7.7 million. Ekatike is 8.9. Out of the two, who would you prefer to get into your team if you had to choose one, Lee?
João Pedro or Ekitike?
Because you're a Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah, I think, and I love Ekitike. I think he's hit the ground running for Liverpool, isn't he? I expected this season to be a bit transitional for him, but he's done great. I think for this week, I would go for João Pedro.
João
I
Pedro, yeah.
think just because Burnley at home is too good a fixture to ignore, isn't it? I think, and Liverpool got to go away to Forest, which, given that Forest are down in the doldrums fighting for their lives, right? Then you'd back Liverpool, I think,
And Spurs.
particularly.
Spurs are fighting
Well,
for their
yeah,
lives as
they're
well,
down
you
there
would
with
say.
Spurs fighting for Spurs. Yeah, that felt like a dig. That felt like a dig at Spurs. So yeah, so Liverpool kind of fight. Well, I'd back Liverpool to win that, particularly as Forest. I think on Thursday have got to travel to Trabzonspor, or I think they've got like a difficult away fixture in Europe, haven't they? So they're going to be pretty knackered coming into that game at the weekend. But they got the new manager, so maybe there's a bit of new manager bounce. First home game for Vita Pereira. So, but I think I would go João Pedro. But then after this week, the Chelsea fixtures do toughen up a little bit. So maybe longer term, Ekitike is the one to go for. So yeah, maybe this week João Pedro, but longer term maybe Ekitike.
Yeah, so the game week runs like this. So Villa at home to Leeds, Brentford at home to Brighton, then obviously Chelsea at home to Burnley, West Ham at home to Bournemouth, Man City at home to Newcastle. Then on Sunday we've got Palace at home to Wolves, Forest at home to Liverpool, Sunderland at home to Fulham, and then Spurs Arsenal at 4:30 on Sunday the 22nd of February, and then on the Monday night football Everton versus Manchester United. Right then, we're going to move on from Game Week 27 chat, and we're going to play Higher Lying. So I don't know if you heard it in our last episode, Lee, but or with Dan, we play a game called Higher Lying. So I'm going to explain it to listeners anyway that might not know it. So basically, so this week it's me versus you. Luke's going to give us a category, and we have to say how many things we think we can name in 30 seconds. So let's say he said, I don't know, like famous, I don't know, random Newcastle players. I say I can name 10, you say 20, I don't know. But you have to remember, you've got to do it in 30 seconds. And then the winner is the person that either gets it all right and does it in 30 seconds, or the person that didn't do it and the person that said they could do it didn't do it in 30 seconds. Do you understand?
Ooh, all right, all right. Well,
Right then,
depends on the
Luke.
category, then, doesn't it? Let's see.
Hit us with the category, Luke.
Yeah, so not even Finley knows this.
Yeah.
So I have got a list of 30 players who have scored in a World Cup final.
Tough category. Could be random as well. Okay. So we just have to name any of those 30 players.
You'll know at least like 20 of them. So it's like you just got to think good players, really.
Okay. I'm going to let Lee start. How many do you think you can name in 30 seconds?
How many can I name in? It's the timing, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
like if I sat here and thought about it, I'd be all right. But the timing is difficult.
It's really weird.
I
how
would go
as soon as you're put under
for.
pressure.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think I was coming on this pod to be put under pressure, but here we are. I would say let's go. Let's go. I don't know, 7. Let's go 7.
7. That's quite high. Okay, I'm going to...
Strong start.
Right, I'm trying to think about... Okay, I'm going to go for the entertainment. I'm going to go 8. By the way, when you think anyone's lying, just say lying.
I think you probably could do 8. I think you could probably do 8. I'd do 10. 10.
I think I got a cool line. I'm going to cool line. Okay, so Luke, do you have the 30-second timer up?
I do have.
That's one every 3 seconds, guys, isn't it? How am I going to do this?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's quite tough when you put under pressure.
It's so hard.
Anyway,
Are you ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Messi, Mbappe, Angel Di Maria, Pogba, Mario Götze, Zidane, Ronaldo. Not both Ronaldos, just Ronaldo R9. Zidane, have I said Zidane? Zidane. Mario Kempes. Pele. Jeff Hurst. Martin Peters. Who else scored for us? Jeff Hurst
time.
hat-trick, wasn't it?
That's time.
how many did he get?
Oh, how many? That wasn't 10, was it?
Still decent.
Okay, so I'm going to read the list out and you're going to say if you said them or not because I was so focused on trying to work out what you said that I forgot to count. I got up to 7 and then I just lost count.
There's so many good players there.
Yeah.
I think I saw at least 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 10, but I'm just going to make sure and count. So
Right, read the list.
Pele,
Yeah, you did say that. I
Yeah,
remember.
said that.
Vava,
No, I don't remember.
No, it's insane.
Vito.
Don't even know this.
I know. Yeah. FC.
This is going back a bit, guys. This is way
Yeah,
before your
there's
time.
some old names. Garincha.
No, I don't think he said
Probably
that.
loads. There's probably loads of names.
so
isn't
many
there? There's probably
names.
loads.
Try and go
could
to the names
through
you
a
think
whole
he
list
said.
here.
Try and go to the names you think he said.
Jeff Hurst.
I definitely said the England ones in
Yeah,
the
he said
1966 World Cup final.
said
Right? So
Hurst.
Martin Peters,
Yeah,
Jeff Hurst, definitely.
Pretty sure you did 10.
I'm pretty sure. Should we just give him the win?
Yeah, I got at least 7, and then I lost count. But you did say a few more names that sounded correct.
Yeah.
All right, the listeners can listen back and they can tell you
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
social
If you
media
got it
whether
right.
whether I got 10 or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Debate. Right. Moving on then. I know this. I forgot who blanks. Arsenal blank, Manchester City blank, I believe, and we've also got Palace blanking. I think that's it.
Yeah, Palace and Wolves, I think,
Palace
isn't
and
it?
Wolves. So
Yeah,
That's why we've got an Arsenal Wolves double game week this week. So
Arsenal
if you've got Mane, then you've got to get rid of him in 31.
Yeah, also getting rid of your Arsenal assets. That's the next talking point. When and how and who is it to come in for Arsenal? Because you don't want to get rid of all of them. And I'd say Gabriel would be the only one you want to keep and just put on your bench for that game week. But I'm looking at Rice going. I've got to keep Raya going. And moving on, you've got to bring players in that, one, fit your budget, and two, are still doing all right. So what are the names you're thinking?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you've got to look at the sort of the block of 4 fixtures in kind of isolation a little bit. And actually, when you look at the Arsenal fixtures, we mentioned before Spurs away, which, yeah, sorry, Luke, I think on paper you back Arsenal. But listen, it's a new manager, everything else, so it could be tricky. Then it's Chelsea in 28, albeit at home for Arsenal. Brighton away in 29. I mean, can be tricky going to the Amex, although Brighton are not in great form. And then Everton at home in game week 30. So let's call it mixed, I think, for the next 4 for Arsenal. Right? Certainly not a block of 4 fixtures where you'd say they're nailed on to win them all, although I think you'd back them in each game. So I've got Gabriel and I've got Timber and I've got Rice. Now, the thing, as you guys will know in FPL, is you've got to be careful about selling players that you've got a lot of FPL value in. And I've had Gabriel for some time in my team. I don't think from game week 1, but certainly, a few weeks into the season when it was pretty clear that Arsenal's defence was still good and he was getting the odd DEFCON, and I think he started scoring as well quite regularly. I was like, right, I've got to get on this guy. So I got him fairly early on. So if you sell Gabriel, you've got to be prepared to swallow quite a loss in value, because if you were to buy him back then another time, it's going to cost you quite a bit more. So you've got to think about what your selling value is versus your buying value in FPL. I don't necessarily have that problem with Rice. I only got Rice quite recently. So if I'm thinking about transfers out for game week 31, he and Timber are probably the two that I would look at. In terms of names in the frame, I don't know, guys. Again, you got to look at that block of four. And if I look at Liverpool, for example, Forest, West Ham, Wolves, and Spurs, and they play in 31, which is quite key, right? One thing you don't want to do is take an Arsenal player out because they don't play in 31, and then bring in, say, a Palace midfielder like Ismail Assar, because you've got the same problem, right? They've got and same with City. You don't want to bring in a Cherki or a Semenyo because they also don't play in 31. You're not solving the headache, are you? You're substituting a problem for a problem. Whereas Liverpool do play against Brighton in 31, and going for maybe a Dominic Szoboszlai, maybe upgrading a little bit from Rice to Wirtz might be one. Or, and I get your thought on this, guys, one of the things that I have looked at for maybe this week or next is that, Manchester City also don't play in game week 31.
Mm-hmm.
Haaland, a bit of a doubt with this knee injury.
Semenyo, you call
I'm looking to, trying to move my rank up from 300k to get back into where I'd like to be. Maybe taking some money out of Haaland and going for Salah in midfield instead of Rice.
Szoboszlai maybe.
I'm considering it.
Szoboszlai's on great form recently. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, hitting those free kicks, especially the one against Manchester City. Especially when you see it. When I saw it
so good.
The first time, I genuinely thought it just deflected off like Gahey or someone, but it just curved so perfectly into the post and in. He's definitely a good FPL asset. Another one I was looking at, West Ham, and I know where they are, and I know they're in a bit of a struggle, but Somerville is quietly going under the radar. He's getting goals, getting assists.
Yeah, he's doing well.
I believe he's only like 5.5 million or that cheap. And so out of when obviously you said you got to get rid of Haaland probably when the game week 31 comes, and I know you said Salah, but there are so many midfield options that you could just jump on and then bring them straight back in. I know Fernandes is expensive, but he's a good option. Morgan Rogers, which I believe you already have. Wilson, Enzo Fernandez, Elliot Anderson, again, he's flying low under the radar for only 5.4 million. He's getting DEFCON as a midfielder. It's mad. I know he plays CDM, but there's so many good options. What would your options be, Luke?
For, just players in general?
Yeah, just to bring in for the blank game week because of the big teams.
Yeah, so obviously big teams aren't playing. So I'd probably lean towards more like Man United have got Bournemouth. Chelsea have got Everton. That could be like a good game to get Chelsea players in. I feel like Chelsea players would be a good shout for Everton. Otherwise, Man United or Liverpool or Chelsea, that's what I'd say. So people like...
I quite like your shout, Finley, of Harry Wilson, actually. I quite like that shout, Finley, what you said before with him. Because I think, they've got Burnley at home in 31, which is nice. But look at the fixtures before it. Sunderland away in 27, difficult. But then Spurs and West Ham at home, followed by Forest away. Who knows what sort of Forest we're going to have under Vita Pereira by game week 30.
Yeah, especially when...
And I've had Harry Wilson... Yeah, totally. And I've had Harry Wilson earlier this season. He's a hero. What a hero. It's so good legend. For me.
Yeah. He's good.
He's been great. I like him. That's not a bad pick.
6 million, if you're looking to get him, 6 million. He's scored 120 points this season already. So he is expensive enough, I'd say, but he's definitely one that you could fit in for, I don't know, Semenyo, or just to have them in before you have that blank game week 31. Before you go, Lee, we're going to ask you a question about the games. So there's loads of games options, and then there's Spurs versus Arsenal. I want to hear your score predictions on Spurs versus Arsenal, then I'll ask Luke.
Spurs predicting Spurs right now is so hard, isn't it? It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Especially with the Tudor.
Mm.
Yeah, I know. I'm really keen to hear what you think, Luke, of the new guy coming in. I think it's a big risk from Spurs. I honestly do, a big risk. I thought certainly in the second half against Manchester City recently, they were showing signs of improvement. Right, first half was dire, right, from Spurs. It was dire, but the second half there were signs of life there from Spurs and from Thomas
Yeah.
Frank that made me give sort of made me feel a little bit more positive. Um, but for this game, given what's going on, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say an Arsenal win. I think score prediction. I think it's I don't know. I'm going to go two or 3-1, something like that. But I tell you what, I will tell. I get a bit of money on a red card, right? Because the London derby is so fiery anyway.
Yeah.
And then you've got, Igor Tudor. He's coming in and he's promising almost kind of in his press conferences and his interviews so far. I like aggressive football. I like high tempo football. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, this is the Premier League. I can see this guy. I can see somebody flying into a tackle in the North London derby and
Christian
it just
Romero.
resulting in a red card.
Yeah. I
Well,
don't know if Chris-
possibly.
I
Yeah,
don't know if he'll
possibly.
be back in time.
Another one.
Is he suspended still, Romero?
Yeah,
I think he probably
he is.
is.
Yeah,
well.
he's suspended
Yeah.
from. Can't remember what game it was.
United.
Yeah, United.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Igor Tudor is that having researched him a little bit, is he loves to play with a back five. He likes the three and then the two sort of wide wingers. I don't know if Spurs have got Luke. Have Spurs got three fit centre halves that could play in that sort of system? I don't know if you've got three centre halves even to play in five.
You
Five at the
barely
back.
have a full team that can play, let alone centre half.
What are your thoughts on the new manager, Luke?
He is probably the most menacing man I've ever seen. But
Yeah.
Get your team into shape.
yeah, he will like make them do like the bleep test like hourly. But yeah, he looks like he'd be good. He looks like he can do something. I hope.
He's obviously interim, so he's not going to be your main manager.
Yeah.
I know I asked you last week, Lee, he wanted Xabi Alonso, but are you waiting for Slot to get sacked and then Xabi Alonso to come in and take the place? I think that's what Xabi wants.
Yeah, I mean he's a former Liverpool player, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I think we've got to give Slot to the end of the season, right? Depending on how we finish. I think genuinely that over the last few weeks we've certainly seen the team starting to click. Wirtz seems to be finding his feet and becoming the player that we thought that we were going to get, and his relationship with Ekitike looks to be blossoming. So yeah, I think we've got to give Slot to the end of the season, and then we'll see what happens. But I don't know. The Spurs fans want Poch back, don't they, Lou?
yeah, I mean he did great for us, got us to the Champions League final. Unfortunately, we couldn't win it. Thanks, but
So what?
Sorry about that.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have him in.
I think it would be, but I said this to Sam the other day. Obviously, she's a big Spurs fan, and it's like Poch coming back. I don't know if it's the. I think some of the Spurs fans think it's that's the big fix. Getting back in, everything's fine again, and we start challenging for Champions League football. You got to remember when Poch was there before, you had what peak Son, you had like peak Kane,
Yeah,
you had like
a better
Alderweireld
squad.
and Jan Vertonghen. Yeah, the play like you had Hugo Lloris in goal, who was a French international keeper at the time. Like you had a team like proper good players, and it's like I don't know, Poch coming into and trying to manage this lot could be a very different challenge, right?
Yeah, so now I have got a big question to ask.
Go on.
Very big question. So we're not the biggest podcast, but we'd like to grow bigger. So we're just asking, it would mean the world if you were to share us on your socials.
Of course I am. Yeah, I thought that was a given.
Oh, thank you.
I thought that was a given. You didn't even need to ask that, guys. But yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's
of
been,
course,
mad,
of course.
it's been mad having you on. I mean, thanks for coming on. It's been a great FPL chat. And before you go, I know you said about the chips, but one last thing. Before you go, do you think you'll get Champions League for Liverpool?
Oh, I have to say yes, don't I? I'm going to say yes by winning the Champions League this year. We'll also qualify.
Okay. Thank you for coming on, Lee.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. And listen,
Yeah,
what you
thanks
guys are
so
doing
much.
is so good. It's so good that you guys have got started with a podcast and you're doing this and getting the FPL community together and doing podcasts like this. So yeah, carry on doing what you're doing. I absolutely love it.
We'll take your tips about StreamYard and we'll get going again. So thank you for coming on, and good luck to the rest of the season. So, that was FPL Lee. Thank you for coming on, Lee, if you are listening back to it now. Luke's got to dash, so I'll quickly round up the podcast. Thank you for listening to the JFPL Podcast, and we will see you next week. Obviously, don't miss the deadline. That is this Saturday, and then the game, Wolves versus Arsenal, is later today. Anything you want to say before you leave, Luke?
No, I mean, I hope.
Spurs versus Arsenal.
Spurs versus Arsenal. I hope I got treated as well. Like, it'll be a lovely way to join the club. As an interim manager, of course. Maybe he could stay full time then.
Yeah, that's what you hope for Carrick. Anyway, That's what Man United done. Anyway, thank you for listening to the JFPL Podcast. Thank you for coming on, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to the listeners that have been listening to this, and we will see you next week. So it's bye from me.
Bye from me.
And we'll see you next week.